It's wALT from 101 WKQX. I am thrilled to be on the phone with Mike Shinoda. Mike, welcome.
Hey, man. I'm happy to be talking to you.
Awesome. First of all, my condolences. Last year was a tough year for me just being a fan of alternative music. I can't even imagine what it must have been like for you.
Yeah, it was crazy. So for me, definitely like the process of going from, like losing Chester and kind of the devastation that went with that. Like you can imagine, like in the beginning, we weren't even like, didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to see anybody. And then I think what I always tell people is that, part of it is because I've always drawn and painted and made music my whole life, that one of the things that kind of got me out of that place was being able to make stuff. And I channeled a lot of the things that I was going through and all that into the stuff that I've made, the music that's on its way now, and the accompanying art that makes up like the CD case, the packaging, and all that.
Right. It's a great way to work through the pain and those emotional struggles for sure. There's not, for me, there's like no other way. This is just the way I've been since I was a kid. Like my parents used to say, they would take me out to dinner with their friends when I was like a little toddler, and they could hand me a paper and pencil, and I would basically draw the entire time, and right.
they could stay there for hours, and I'd just be, taken care of.
Great.
They always said they felt so lucky because most kids would be crawling all over the restaurant.
I would say you're a good kid. Yeah, that's fantastic.
They were just lucky that was holding my attention, I guess.
The days before an iPad too, right?
Right, exactly.
What was the first thing you did when you walked into the studio for the first time after Chester's passing?
Well, in the beginning, I wrote a few. I was really anxious to go in, but then I realized if I didn't do it soon, that the anxiety would just keep building up. So, in the beginning, I went in and just played. Like I didn't really record anything. I just messed around, and it was hard. Like I couldn't like really make anything. But then one day, I wrote something that I actually played at the Hollywood Bowl show, the tribute show for Chester.
Right. It
was a song called "Looking for an Answer," and I wrote that, like a couple weeks later after he passed, and then I just kept writing things. Like most of it in the beginning was just kind of junk, but then at a certain point, I hit a bunch of songs that I felt like were true to where I was at and what I was thinking, what I was going through. And the more time that passed, it kind of like my life got I kind of came out of that dark place in my life, but so the music kind of followed suit. It's like the first few songs that I put out on the
EP earlier this year.
I did an EP with 3 songs that were pretty dark.
Yeah.
One of them actually was called Over Again. It was about, like, the first verse is about, I wrote and recorded it the day we were playing the Hollywood Bowl show, tribute show. And then I wrote this and recorded the second verse the next day. So they're in the moment. Both the whole song is just totally in the moment of that thing.
Right.
And then as it, like I said, as it went on, like I had other thoughts about, as like things kind of advanced. Like I was thinking less about, I can't do anything. Nothing makes sense. That is the name of the song. One of the songs I just put out was called Nothing Makes Sense Anymore. But then I had, I got to the point where I felt like I was, with this new song that you guys are playing now, Crossing a Line was written at a point when I had decided, okay, I've got these songs, I want people to hear them. I feel like there's something positive to be had from like going out into the world and kind of starting over again.
Right.
And I felt like I was going into new territory, crossing a line that way, but also that I was cognizant that I didn't want to like hurt my friends' feelings.
Right.
Because I've been with the guys in the band for so long, I didn't want them to feel like I was like betraying them.
I can only imagine. I mean, that's got to be a tough one to navigate between, because when you listen to Crossing a Line, I think it's fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
But it doesn't necessarily sound like a Linkin Park song. Did you put?
And why should it, right?
Absolutely.
It's not a Linkin Park show.
But you got to feel that, like you said, like the fans out there, they're probably expecting, maybe now I'll get hybrid theory, whatever that is. Screw that. Do what you do, and I think you've done that. Did you have to put on keep things away, like put on some roadblocks that, all right, I'm not going to do that? Did you approach writing songs differently?
No. This is the type of music that I just, when I sit down and make stuff, when I've been doing that this year, it's just what naturally is just kind of comes out. Like I grew up on so many different types of music, mostly in the very, very early days. Like it was a lot of hip hop and a lot of rock,
sure,
but also other things. As anybody who's kept up with the band for a while knows that it's like you kind of don't know what to expect when a record comes out.
For sure.
Linkin Park, we've always kind of jumped from one thing to another, and that was, if you go back to the beginning of when the band came out, like a lot of the thing that was going on that was hot was like a lot of bands like doing basically rock bands doing some rapping in the songs.
Sure.
And
we know who those bands were.
We grew up in L.A. I grew up in L.A. with like a very diverse group of friends and diverse music tastes, and so I just naturally did that. And I think when the label signed us back then, like they thought they were getting another rap rock band, and those smart ones of the label realized that we didn't want to fit in that box at all. Like
right.
People wanted to put that flag in our hands and have us march around with it, and we were like, no, we're not. I don't care about that stuff at all.
I know exactly. Go ahead.
It just became more and more obvious the more albums we put out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, because I think when my band Stabbing Westward got signed, Columbia, our label, was like, "Hey, we need our own Nine Inch Nails. These guys will do."
Yeah,
and we kind of forged our own path and had our own level of success. That wasn't that. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I think like in I've always loved Nine Inch Nails. I feel like there's elements of industrial music and new wave music and electronic, and there's all these things that have always worked its way into my stuff because I don't listen to one type of music, and these days that's become more and more the way that young people listen. I listen the way everybody else listens. I don't look for a genre.
Right.
I look for like, what do I want to listen to? What do I like?
Yeah.
In fact, I don't. They at a lot. Some of the streaming services now. I was talking to them about, the new music is coming out, and they're starting to put the stuff in playlists. And some of the playlists are like they're genre based, but some of them they actually call them mood based.
Right.
They call them. There's another word for them, but it's basically like, you might as well be saying I'm organizing music by color. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it. Almost just is like, it's a little arbitrary. It's just based on like, just like any of us, I'm going to put a playlist together that I want to listen to. Here's what I put on it. It doesn't matter like what it sounds like. It's just, or what genre it is. It just matters, do I like it or not?
So all of these diverse genres and influences that you've grown up with, what can we expect on the new record, which comes out in June?
All of it.
Great answer.
It's all over the place. And if you listen to the stuff that's already out, I've got 5 songs out right now. Just look under Mike Shinoda on any of the wherever you listen to music or YouTube or whatever. And yeah, you'll get a sense. Like it's very mixed. It's more about, like in this case, like that's the musical approach is just what comes. That's just what comes naturally to me. But content-wise, lyrically, I think that the thing to know about what's the difference between what's out and what's about to come out is that it started in a very like claustrophobic kind of place, like a dark, really dark place. And as time has gone on, and I've wrapped my head around what's going on in my life and what the world looks like. With Chester not in it, the different songs have come out of that, and they're not all in the beginning they were dark, and then as it went on, they're not all dark.
I think that's how people live life, though. I mean, I think that that's going to be a wonderful representation of that.
I think that's natural, and we're never going to forget Chester. We're never going to, in the beginning you worry about that, but as you go on you realize that's not a real thing. Like not to mention the fact that I spent the greater portion of my adult life with the guy.
Right. He's always going to be a part of you.
Yeah, you're not going to forget that, but also he was an absolute legend. He was one of the best rock singers of all time. There's no voice like his voice. Like even when we did the tribute show, or when I've seen other people cover our songs since then, or even before.
Yeah.
I like a lot of them. They're really nice, and there's tons of people when they sing their own stuff, they have beautiful voices, really incredible voices, but they don't sound like him.
I think that was so apparent.
And that's the difference.
That was so apparent from the tribute show. Great singers, but man, it really showed what a phenomenal singer Chester was.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, real quick, because I know I got to lose you here in a minute. You're doing a few shows. You've got the Identify LA show coming up, Love Loud in Salt Lake City, Japan. Should we expect something else from you here later on this year?
Yeah, I'll be announcing shows as we go. So just keep an eye on Mike Shinoda on Twitter, _Shinoda on Instagram, and Mike Shinoda on Facebook. Whenever new shows pop up, you guys will know.
Well, we would love to have you here in Chicago. We love you. We almost had you in the Sound Lounge. We were a week away from that. A year ago,
we're gonna, as I wrap up the album, I'm actually putting the finishing touches on the album right now. So focused on getting that done, and then we'll start booking some shows.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for taking the time. I admire your honesty, your openness. I think it helps all of us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Walt.